Hello, friends, and welcome back. We are discussing Season 4 of True Detective. We'll be talking Season 4, Episode 2 today, and we will be discussing the references to Season 1. They're not really story spoilers, but there are references to characters from that. So if you want to be completely spoiler-free from Season 1, like if you want to go in completely blind, then it may not be for you. But if you don't mind, then let's get into it. Alex, will you start us off with an introduction, please, sir?
Yep, I'm Alex. I'm currently a aspiring author. I can be found on the pagechewing.com forum. And I'm loving True Detective at the moment.
Chris?
Yeah, my name's Chris Nolan, sometimes YouTuber, sometimes appear in chats like this, and can I say that it's all just okay somewhere? It's okay so far. It's full of promise. But I think it's kind of a bit tropey at the moment, if anything. You know, it kind of is doing obvious things and just enough things to scare my wife out of the room at the start of every episode for 5 minutes. And she's like, no, I can't do it in my way. And away she goes. But yeah.
That's fair. Jared?
Yeah, I'm Jared. You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and you can find me at the Page Chewing forums as well. Let's see. I'm interested to hear Chris's tropes theory here, and I'm enjoying the heck out of this show so far. I think it's my favorite start of any of the seasons we've seen.
Yeah. And Anthony?
Yeah, my name's Anthony Self. I'm also a member of the Page Chewing forums, and I've got a YouTube channel called Horrible that I mostly play indie horror games, and have a couple of books out on Amazon. So yeah, and I'm deeply enjoying True Detective Series 4 at the moment, and really like this episode as well. Bit more detective work on this one, less supernatural elements to a certain degree, but yeah.
And they're really leaning into the whole Ennis being, they reference it as being this kind of where the Earth is getting old and it's bursting at the seams. It has a very supernatural feel to it, which is a little different than previous seasons because they were all very grounded and feel more, I don't want to say realistic, but more, boots on the ground kind of thing. So this is has more of a kind of sprawling feel to it. It's very different, but it's taking a little bit of getting used to.
Yeah, a bit more in the mysticism department, I think.
I did a little bit of looking into Ennis, and while it's obviously not a real place, it is based on a real place. And that real place is called, and I'm going to absolutely butcher this pronunciation now
go
because
for it. Own it.
Qavvik, which has recently changed its name. It used to be called something else, and 10 points if anybody can guess. I'll give you a clue. In winter, it has about 60 days of night.
Barrow.
Yep.
Oh,
It used to be called
okay.
Barrow.
Nice.
And I realised that was called 30 days of night, but
I think that film may have hurt the tourism for Barrow.
Let's change it. Let's change the name.
Yeah.
I know Alex brought it up last week, and maybe other people haven't seen it, but definitely, like, this episode further went down the line of embracing the storyline of Fortitude that was in Sky many years ago, with the reference to prehistoric things lying underneath the ice that they were going to. That's what they were researching, basically, and that's what has maybe led to their downfall, if that makes sense. And God, I hope not. I hope it's not exactly the same kind of premise and setup as that. As cool as that was.
Nothing good ever comes from the ice,
No.
Well, they definitely confirmed that they were looking for some sort of like aerobic bacteria or anaerobic bacteria or something like that. That's supposed to be, some kind of cure-all or something. They specifically mentioned that in this episode, and that was that, like you said, that was part of the more detective work that was going on in this episode.
I do have an under the ice theory, but I'm not sure whether to save it for the predictions at the end.
Ooh. Yeah, let's hear it.
In the main credits, there is a very brief shot of what looks like a reindeer or a caribou with bright red eyes. Only flashes up for a couple of seconds, but it is there. And there is an Inuit myth of a creature called an Idjurat, which I've probably also butchered. And they are shapeshifters that very often took the shape of a sort of half man, half caribou. The only thing they couldn't change was their eyes, which were always red. The legend was they were people who went too far north and got stuck in the other world, in the sort of limbo between life and death. And where they live is supposed to be a confusing place, and even if you know the land around very well, if you tread where they live, you will get lost. And there is a scientific reason for this. And that is naturally occurring sour gas under the ice. And as you walk on it, and this has happened in Canada, but I don't know if it's ever happened in Alaska, but as you walk on these pockets of sour gas, it releases the sour gas, and you can start hallucinating because sour gas is basically natural gas with hydrogen sulfide mixed in.
That does sound
And
very
it
interesting.
can cause hallucinations.
Oh.
So there you go.
There was
There's a
also
theory for you.
a film back this a couple of years ago. I think Ron Perlman was. I forget the name of it off the top of my head, but that was essentially the sort of storyline. There was like some Antarctic research base, and the pockets of gas made them all start hallucinating. I'll have to try and find out what that is now, but. I remember watching it and thinking it was a good thing, but I think, Alex, you might be on something there, and I think that might be the... I had my theory of the scientists release something, but I think the kind of gas element might be a good shout.
It could link to the mine. The mining could be causing the sour gas to leach into the ice.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
Right, that's me done for the night.
So that's we're just bringing up on the screen
That's the
the
one.
glowing eyes is very quick, very fast. In the introduction, it's not on as long as the other images are.
Images,
Which is
but it
probably
also
why I
leads
missed
credence to the fact that True Detective's unlikely to go down the mystical route, even though it's sort of playing with it. And again, the casting of Callie Reis in this season started to make sense as well. You know, this idea of spirit animals and all of that kind of stuff being very much from her heritage. Again, feels like we're going to play with a lot of that element of heritage and living off the land and kind of connection between land and the man-made structures, etc. as well.
So is that gas, if that's what it is, hallucinatory enough to get all these scientists to run out there and get naked in the snow and freeze to death?
I mean, the worst the bits I've read up about it suggest that it can cause feelings of being watched and severe paranoia. But whether or not that would be enough for a bunch of scientists to run out of a research centre, rip off all their clothes, fold them up nicely, and then file all over the top of each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was gonna mention that they folded them up. The slippers were perfectly positioned on top of them.
That's what I thought was the odd kind of part of it, because obviously following on from the previous episode, we've got like a kind of tangled body mess of or what Danvers describes as a corpsicle sort of thing. But yeah, that was the thing that kind of, why would you just, if you were suffering from some sort of delirium or had some kind of hallucinogenic that made you gouge your eyes out and bite yourself and whatnot, and possibly maybe scrawl the spiral tattoo on the forehead, why would you then take like the time to kind of neatly put your clothes in order, sort of thing? That's the only kind of caveat there that doesn't really make sense to me.
Because Clark did it.
Unless somebody was holding them at gunpoint or was doing something like that, maybe. Like I guess Clark, that's the guy who's unaccounted for right now, right? So is that the same one who said she is coming or something like that?
Yeah, so he's the TikToker researcher. I mean, we didn't get to see quite. I thought with the reviewing of the TikTok account, we'd see a lot more, but it just kind of shows it going to black as soon as he says she's awake. So yeah.
Yeah, that would have been too easy.
That would have. I thought there might have been like another clue there, like they would be led to something else. But I mean, both Navarro and it obviously seems that Navarro and Danvers' cases are linked, obviously by Annie, the murdered girl, who was the model that has the spiral tattoo on the back, and she's obviously got a relationship with Clark. They find out, Navarro finds out that there's a secret love nest trailer, and they're kind of it's almost kind of like a kind of Raymond Chandler sort of thing where they're two separate cases, but they're actually linked together, which I always appreciate. So as Chris, as you were saying, I think maybe now the supernatural elements might be. There's a lot of talk as well that, they have Rose who's saying that Ennis is like the fabric of, what is it she says, like the fabric of...
all things coming apart at the seams. Yeah, I wrote that down.
And and she kind of has this, she seems very kind of connected to the area and in that respect, like she sees Travis, her ex, who could be Rust's dad from the first series, seem to share the same surname, so it would... be in keeping. And she kind of, when she's talking to Navarro and Navarro's talking about her sister, she kind of quite categorically places the thing of like, there's one point of like seeing things, but there's another of like mental health. So I think there's going to be the link there as well about the spirits, because obviously when Peter, the young deputy, is talking to the guy who gives all the supplies, and he's saying like, we see things at night and stuff like that. So there is that element that people are seeing things, but it's, the 30, 40 days of night. So maybe he's just alluding to the people going a bit wacky sort of thing.
Yeah, and with Travis, I think in the first season they mentioned that so anybody who hasn't seen season 1 yet, it's minor spoiler, but when they're talking to Russ, he talks about his dad being in Alaska, and they check into it, and they say, well, we have no records of him ever dying or being diagnosed. He's kind of like, there's no record of it. But it makes sense because Travis didn't go to a hospital. He didn't die in a hospital. He went to spend some time with Rose and have a good time, and then he went off and died. So it kind of all makes sense, which I thought was pretty neat. Mm-hmm. It's not a major plot point from season 1, but it's one of those where you would catch on to it. It's not going to change season 1, which I appreciate.
Do you think we'll see a cameo appearance by Rusty helping out Danvers and Navarro on their case?
I hope not.
Do you think that would spoil it?
Yeah.
I also think he would be an executive producer already if he was. But it's only Woody Harrelson.
Is he not an executive producer on this now?
I don't think maybe McConaughey is.
I thought I saw his name on the first episode.
No, maybe I've got that wrong. But I do agree. I don't really want to see him in here because it'll also date it. It'll also, there's a lot of possibilities here about when in the time scale this is happening in terms of everything else.
Oh, yeah.
And what's going to happen. Like, this could be way in the future, could be way in the past. We don't really know.
Well, yeah, when do you think the time scale is? I mean, I don't remember seeing a clue. I mean, there's cell phones, obviously, but they look pretty modern, but I'm not sure exactly when.
I'm just trying to think of like the vehicles and stuff like that as well, because sometimes you can sort of tell the... I mean, yeah.
This seems to be pretty modern, pretty current with the TikTok thing and...
right. Yeah. It's a good shout.
That's right. Okay.
The other question I was going to have, so at the very beginning, this is something that kind of threw me a little bit, because I kind of had to take a moment to sort of say, why has no one actually like said anything about this? So when they discovered the polar bodies in the ice, you see one of the scientists kind of do a kind of like he's still alive, but then it's never referenced again in the episode. And I was thinking to myself, did that actually happen, or What was that? Did I just miss something completely there, or?
There is a phone call as Danvers is going into the school, and they tell her that they're going to have to amputate at least a leg, and he's in an induced coma.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
So there was someone still alive then.
Yeah.
I must have missed that line completely because I just thought, yeah.
Well, I have a theory about that. I mean, one, it was a very hard tropey, that kind of person still alive. Again, that was the bit my wife rounded it and went, no, fuck this, we're out, I'm done. we're done here. But it's also a similar kind of noise that Clark makes before he says she's awake. When he's kind of jerking and he expels through his mouth. And again, don't want to be waiting on this too much, but it just reminds me of Fortitude. Again, they have been trapped in the ice. He's thawed or brought down a little bit, and I think something might have escaped from his mouth at that time, something that was keeping him alive, at the time keeping his body warm. And we have to see if things start happening to the other people that were in and around that scene.
Or if they found the organism that stops cellular decay,
Yeah.
maybe he contracted it somehow and he's able to survive when other people weren't. And that would almost kind of, if there was an outbreak, it would make sense that Clark is the one who has his own room, so he may have been able to isolate himself while the other ones weren't.
Interesting.
But yes, it almost passed unnoticed as nearly the shock effect kind of thing that happened. And then everybody was like, oh, I didn't see it. What, did you see something? Not me.
There was also a similar noise at the end when they panned outside the trailer.
Yes, I did. I remember doing that because I spoke to my girlfriend. I went, "Ooh, there's that noise," and I was like thinking something was going to happen there. So, yeah, maybe there's something in there in that respect of the echoes of Ennis.
And now I really hope it's not going to be the same thing as Fortitude, because that deserves to be left on its own as the work of art it was.
Yeah, indeed.
They also brought up the water again. Something about that. I don't remember exactly what it was though. What was going on there?
The water's not drinkable at the moment in a certain region. So it's went black.
Yeah, but you can also see possibly like it's having an effect on the town now, because when they're in the bar and Navarro's coming in to ask questions to Annie's brother, and you have the bar fight between the miners and the other townspeople or the fish people or crab people, whatever they are, and then later on when we see the dog as well, sort of growling. I mean, maybe I'm just looking too much into this kind of thing, but I think there may be a possibility of the contamination spreading through the town of Venice, or maybe that's just the feeling that they're trying to give to viewers, that there could be this widespread hysteria or delirium or whatever it may be coursing through the veins of the town of Venice.
Am I right in thinking that during the winter when there's no sun they ban alcohol sales?
Didn't look like it. Looks like they were having a good time at the bar fights.
I think they ration it, don't they? Because we saw in the first episode where Navarro was going to pick up her Baileys or whatever it was, or the six-pack, and other people were kind of coming to the store. So possibly they ration it. I mean, it would make sense. Having 30 days of continual night in a town where, you have a very small police force and whatnot.
So if this is a mass hallucination, it kind of makes sense because they're isolated. It's night. There's not a whole lot to do. They all seem to be kind of isolated, stuck. But the vision that Rose has of Travis pointing her towards the bodies, I guess that's one of the things you can't really dismiss as a hallucination, right? And I'm sure there's a few others, but.
Well, I mean, if she is indeed Rusty's mum, we know from he has sort of hallucinogenic, sort of like in the first series we've seen him, Matthew McConaughey's character, have several episodes or visions, if you will. So if it's like a bloodline thing, maybe she's being able to sort of still see visions as well. So that could just be a part of the accountability of having that kind of supernatural cosmic element, but then also grounding it in the kind of reality of the situation that they're in.
So the dead come back because they miss you, they want to tell you something, or they want to take you with them.
Not ominous sounding at all.
Not at all. No.
And I love that line. Even the dead get bored. I thought that was hilarious.
Hilarious. Another hilarious part was when the arm snaps off when the
Yeah. Oops, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, once again, like, because we see a bit more of Hank in this one. Poor Hank with his scamming bride to be Alina. I laughed when I just saw him messaging, and he's like making a voice recording. He's going, "Don't worry, baby, I'll send you some money for your sick mother." And you're just like, "You're a cop, man. Surely you should be knowing that this is a scam, at least, you know." So, but he does make an interesting comment as well to when he slaps Peter, sort of thing, and tells him blood is blood. I think there's maybe something a bit more darker behind Hank's. I thought originally he was just dragging his heels, but I think if the cult from the first series, if they are kind of making a comeback in this particular series, or the kind of the spiral symbol team, or whatever you will, then I think Hank might have something. His intentions might be a little bit more self-preserving on this one, because he's obviously, he's upset that he had the files. That the only thing linking Annie to Navarro and Danvers' case, he had that file, so he's upset now. So maybe he's got some invested interests into why he doesn't want Annie's murder being solved.
Oh, I think we talked about it last week, but it is strange that a cop would have files like that at his house, and then you not be able just to go get them.
Right.
Yeah, but you do see that our sheriff here is having an affair with her boss, basically. And does what's his name know about that? Is he bitter that he think that she got the job because of that? It kind of makes you wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we see Christopher Eccleston arrive on the scene as the captain.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
With a not very British accent, as the case may be.
Yeah. Thought he was going to get into the phone booth, but he didn't.
You don't get Christopher Eccleston into this show just for that scene. Like that seems unlikely. And as for Hank, like, I just can't shake the feeling that John Hawkes, the actor that acts Hank, is a wrong in every other thing that he's ever done on TV. There's more going on with Hank than Piers, the dumb kind of lazy cop that they're sort of portraying at the start.
Yeah,
right.
He's been more sinister.
I mean, I never got to the end of the first season, but was there a cult leader in it?
It was implied that there was. There was a kind of video that Rusty steals that shows a kind of, there's more like a cabal of like people involved in this. The main guy, whose name I forget now, the main guy who's the killer at the end, sort of thing, he's part of it, and I think they. It's like case wrapped, we've got it sorted, we found our killer of all these people. But in the background, I think that it was insinuated that there was this kind of group, this cult-like people. And the guy who Rusty in Series 1 interviews they fund the school for children. I forget his name. Is it Tuttle? Is it Tuttle, or is it?
Yeah, it is.
He's referenced as well again in this one, because then when Peter is doing the kind of connecting the dots, he's telling Danvers about the shell account that's owned by the same name, whether it's the same person or whatnot, sort of thing. So there's connections there in terms of funding, and then you'd suspect if that cult was part of that group, then it would kind of connect things, I guess, to that kind of point as well. So, yeah.
So at the moment, we're probably red hot on for Hank to be part of that cult. And
And maybe even Peter as well. Just because he's been ever so helpful to Danvers doesn't mean that he's got ulterior motives as well.
True.
Sometimes they throw you a bit of a curveball, don't they, when they have like the plucky young deputy who's happy to help, but could turn out that maybe he's involved with his dad. Because that's when Hank says blood is blood. I think maybe there's something there in that vein. I don't think he just means it's like family is family. I think it means it goes deeper than that.
Interesting.
That's some top-notch MI6 thinking there.
Yeah.
I could be completely wrong. I think in the last episode I threw out some theories as well that haven't come to fruition yet or anything. So we'll see.
And what's her name? Navarro? That's the deputy, right?
Yeah. Carly Reis's character.
What was up? She got angry at that necklace and threw it out the window. Maybe somebody can help me understand that. Elaborate on that a little bit.
Oh, I think it was her mother's, wasn't it? Because she has a kind of moment of flashback where I presumed anyway that she was trying to like cover her sister, and her mother was pointing the finger, and because I think she had visions or she had some illness, and her sister thinks that she's also having the same thing as her mum, and then when she's in the car she brings up the cross, and you see it in the flashback around her, presuming her mother's neck.
Right, I just didn't think there was anything deeper than that, than just being mad at her mother and having anger about the situation with his sister. I didn't know if there's something deeper than that going on there, or if that necklace is going to turn up again later or something like that, but we'll see.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, it kind of like the fact that she threw it out the window, and it might be like the snow bear, like the plushy snow bear that Danvers has sort of seen every now and then. She might sort of, that cross might come back at certain points, I would imagine. Yeah.
It did raise a question in my head. If this necklace evokes these powerful memories in her, what the hell was it doing in the car in the first place?
I think it might be the same thing put in the stuffed polar bear, certain places for Danvers to find.
So someone's actively dropping these emotive items into people's lives.
Or something.
Which suggests prior knowledge of everybody.
Yeah, it was interesting as well, because when Danvers has her little flashback with what we're presuming is her son, the music is the twist and shout from when she goes in at the start,
right.
And there's that thing of like, don't like the Beatles. I think it's obviously, I'm going to assume that the car crash, her son dies in the car crash, and that's the song that's playing as they have the crash. That's what I'm gonna sort of suggest. And he is covering his eye as well with his hand, so I don't know if that has relevance to the plushy polar bear. Maybe the polar bear is like a kind of metaphor for reincarnation or something. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
Or the real polar bear. I was a little disappointed we didn't see the real polar bear again. I'm still holding out hope that he's going to be back.
Still waiting for your polar bear rampage.
Yes, we need that. I need the polar bear rampage.
Quick question for you guys. I did notice when Jodie Foster Danvers goes to see Christopher Eccleston's captain character, and formalities are gone out the window. There's a specific shot when they are getting to reacquaint themselves with each other, say, that reminded me of an earlier film that she did called The Accused. I don't know, maybe that was just me, but I don't know if anyone else
machine.
The pinball machine, like the kind of shot, the angle, like what they were doing, everything like that seemed very similar. So I don't know if they were just doing a bit of a nod, bit of an Easter egg nod sort of thing to the head, or if maybe I've just looked into that too much, but yeah.
Interesting as well. There's certainly a lot going on, that's for sure. And a bit like in series 1, they don't feel the need to tie it all together. It at the moment is very much creating the sense that things aren't quite right, and there are a lot of possibilities and a lot of links and theories and ways that you can go down without kind of nearly leading you too much by the nose in one general direction. One of the things that I noticed was that the congregation of men in the ice was sort of reminiscent of the reindeer going off the cliff. That kind of nearly clambering over the top of each other to try and get to the end, and again, that kind of hallucinogen kind of thing. Whatever made the reindeer do it could have affected the men. Although the idea that they folded up the clothes, etc. beforehand is the bit that sticks on that from being like a spur of the moment thing. It feels more planned.
Yeah, I mean that definitely could have been. It could have been that the Clark guy who lined up the clothes after the fact or what have you, and drew the symbol as well. As far as we know, that's all conjecture at this point, but that's always possible.
I think he's the only one that had the spiral on his chest, right? Because he had the tattoo, so he'd previously been radicalized, I guess, potentially.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like the show was kind of designed to make you go down certain roads and conjecture about different things that could mean absolutely nothing, but they're throwing a lot of Easter eggs at us as far as that goes. Things to lead us in certain directions that may or may not be come to fruition.
I mean, it could be that I think Tiny mentioned because he had the room on his own, he wasn't affected. So he went out after them, couldn't stop them. They all die, and he just thinks, "Damn it! Well, I can at least tidy the clothes up for them."
Yeah.
let me clean up a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just he has OCD or something. He's just like, I need to clean this up. This is too much.
I can't leave these lying like this.
Yeah.
The shit's pointing in all sorts of directions.
I can draw this on the head. Yeah.
We saw his notes as well, though, didn't we? When Danvers is looking at his notes, and it starts off quite innocuously enough, and then you see the kind of the reins of a madman, and it's I did notice that. I didn't stop it, but cold, dark, her eyes. I can hear her calling. Her eyes, her face, her eyes, her face, her eyes, her face, her eyes, her face. And what struck me with this is that reminded me a lot of the teacher when he's pointing at the board earlier on. It's the kind of the layers of the earth. So I think this is like a kind of subconscious little connection of saying that whatever's down in whatever they've discovered in the ice maybe is the same. It has that kind of climate change sort of element, storyline, plot as well. So what does it say on the thing? Oh God, never say her name, never say her. I can hear her, feel her name. I can hear her moving her fingers. Yeah.
There's one on the next page when she turns the page over, or it might be the page after that, where it says, "God, don't go to sleep," or something like that.
Yeah. So maybe old Clark's been awake for a very long time, and they do say, was it what's the record? I think is it 7 days film can last without going to sleep or something like that, without having mass hallucinations. And because we have to remember as well that if he was an item with Annie, and she do we have a kind of time estimate as to when she died prior to this happening? Now, was it like a year? Has a year passed since Annie's death?
I've got a feeling I remember somebody saying it when they said, "Is it the same tongue?" I think Danvers said it was 6 years ago. It can't be.
That's right. Yeah. There was a longer time. Yeah, right.
But I think they might have did they confirm in this episode that it was the same tongue?
But then wasn't the thing about was the tattoo? When did he get the tattoo taking place? Was it 2017? Was it around that time? Because the two of them in the photo, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
Has she
she's
had one?
like with her back, so it's on her sort
Yeah.
of shoulder, and then she obviously dies at some point, and then he gets the kind of tattoo on his chest
Tattoo done, yeah.
because doesn't a tattoo artist basically say like he started crying afterwards, and it seemed like it was well, I can't remember what she says, but it's something along the lines of like she was, he seemed sincere, sort of thing. So yeah.
So that picture's there's got more of her eyes and her fingers on it.
Dark, cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those of you listening, we're looking at the second page from the scene where Danvers is looking through the notebook. On the top, on the white above the picture, it does say DNA section from GISP 20 or something. So maybe they did successfully grab DNA from the organism they were looking for.
Yeah, it's a culture 5K. Yeah.
I think if you go a little bit further on, she turns another page, and that's where it's got something like, "Oh God, don't go to sleep" or something like that.
Right, okay.
Something along those lines.
Yeah. Oh God, never go to sleep. Never sleep.
That's the one.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That looks like when you hit ultimate crazy.
Yeah, it got more chaotic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cold, dark.
That's when you've leveled up to sort of like end level boss madness.
Getting there.
Yeah. Slowly. I did have it written down. It's NC Global Strategies Tuttle United is the company. What's NC Global? I don't remember that from before. Why NC?
What county was the first one set in?
It was set in. It wasn't North Carolina, was it? It was in the South. Was
The
it?
first season?
Yeah.
I thought it was Texas, but I could be wrong.
Louisiana?
Oh, Louisiana.
Louisiana was the bayou, wasn't it? Right enough, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So it seems like there's a lot of deliberate little clues in this, so I would imagine that NC means something, but I just don't know what.
Let's see.
There is a real example of people leaving apparent safety and dying in a tumbled heap in the snow, which crops up in Bigfoot circles, and that's Dyatlov Pass in Russia,
Oh, yeah.
where 9 hikers died in mysterious circumstances.
Interesting.
There were, I think, 3 of them did have fatal injuries on them, though. There was a couple of compressed chests, and somebody had severe head injuries. So the proper working non-cryptid theory is they were caught in part of an avalanche, and the survivors dragged the terminally injured people out, and they ran to the tree line to try and get cover and died of hypothermia. But it's got a lot of parallels to running from an apparent safe place into the freezing cold.
That's a good theory, actually, because Steve, I don't know if you remember when you did an interview with the Critical Drinker. His book is about the Dyatlov Pass and how it kind of goes into the significance of them. Basically, one of those explorers. Well, they were exploring, weren't they? They were just like, at that time, it was all about like trying to find, the South Pole and all that kind of stuff and whatnot, sort of thing. They were just like, but they basically find this hole in the ground, and there's like this dead woman there, sort of thing, who releases a kind of like a plague, essentially, sort of thing. So that could potentially tie in with what we've been talking about as well. So maybe what they found under the ice was something of that nature. And it's also as well when Rose is talking to Navarro at the beginning, and they go outside, and she draws the spiral in the snow and says like it's older than time, like older than the snow, sort of thing. So, yeah, it could be leading to this like something they found, whatever they were looking for the cure of cancers and stuff like that. But maybe it's had the kind of opposite effect. But I don't know. Yeah, it's all very interesting.
In a completely different direction. Is anybody intrigued by the lighthouse?
Yeah. When Navarro mentions it to her sister about the lighthouse, do you have a theory, Alex, on the lighthouse there?
I don't yet, because it's only been mentioned twice, and both times in relation to the same character and not wanting to go there.
Where's the lighthouse supposed to be again?
It's somewhere in Ennis, and it's not. I don't think it's an actual lighthouse. I think it's an outreach or outreach centre or community centre.
Yes. Yeah, it's like almost a rehab type place or something like that.
Yeah, I think we'll probably in the next couple of episodes, if we don't even go there, we might find out more about it. I would like to think anyway. Yeah. Because what were their connections? So Danvers essentially they found the trailer where all the kind of the etchings of things were on the walls, and this big spiral on the thing as well. And what did Danvers discover as well? Didn't they discover something else? Oh, they found her phone. They found Annie's phone in the trailer. That seemed a bit smashed up and everything. So that would lead you to believe that because Navarro said, "Oh yeah, that was missing from the scene." And yeah, that's what I was gonna. Was that a body?
I was curious about that. Was that a body or is that like a doll?
Is that just like a doll?
Looks like a big doll, yeah.
Some kind of mannequin dressed up.
Yeah, and then there's a small doll next to it, like a baby doll next to it.
That was it. I completely forgot my theory. This just brought it up. Sorry. So I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm just going to be throwing out all the conspiracy theories. But my thought process is that Clark is trying to reanimate Annie. I think he's trying to bring her back from the dead. Yeah. That was it. That's the one I thought. So like when he's doing the spiral stuff, like because weren't the cult, weren't they looking for everlasting life or something? I can't remember if that's what the kind of their big goal was.
Do you think if that's the case, if that's supposed to represent Annie, that dummy?
I think it might. Yeah.
Do you think Annie was pregnant when she died?
Oh.
Is that why it's a little baby?
Wouldn't that have been in the autopsy notes?
That's true.
Actually.
That's true, yeah.
But they need a piece of a tissue, hence the tongue.
Oh. So Chris, you mentioned this one being a little too tropey. What did you feel like was the tropiness?
I mean, it's very horror based. These first couple of episodes playing at the night makes it very, very horror based. Probably more so than even season one, which kind of just was creepy, culty rather than necessarily horror. So there's lots of flashlights, lots of revealing things, the hallucinogens, the existing tension that exists between all the characters that are already there. The kind of things that you see in pretty much every small town drama like this. Nobody actually seems to have gotten on at any stage over the past years. Even when she was trying to get a land of the ice rink, there was the relationship with the wife or the ex-wife of the partner as well, and nobody likes each other. The mother doesn't even like the daughter. It just feels very forced, if you know what I mean, and not kind of in the want of action. And maybe that's because they only have like 6 episodes for this, so if they had 8, maybe they would start from a different place. But in here, it basically feels like there's just conflict everywhere. Nobody gets along. Even people that are sleeping together don't get along. They steal each other's toothbrushes.
So everybody is also sleeping with each other as well as not getting along.
Yeah.
And that poor guy didn't get his toothbrush back yet.
He asked for it multiple times. Like,
yeah.
When are they going to solve that crime?
Priorities, people. So is Leah Liz's daughter? It seems like that's like a stepdaughter type of situation there. Is that?
Yeah, I think it's stepdaughter as well, because I think, don't they, when she's talking to Peter on the ice rink, and they're both sort of sharing their kind of their stories in that respect, and she says that, you know, she always used to dance and everything like that with my dad. So yeah, I'm getting the impression that, and this is just an impression, that Jodie Danvers had a child with him, the boy, who I'm presuming has died with the father in this crash, and she's kind of taken responsibility for the daughter, but Leah wasn't her daughter, sort of thing. That's my impression. Yeah.
It kind of makes sense, because when they draw the on her chin, and she just keep your drawings off my daughter's face, and they said she just wants to know about her heritage, and so there seems to be a lot of conflict there too.
I found that scene really. I thought that was when she calls her like laundromat granny. Brutal stuff. I don't know what it is, but at each episode, I'm favouring Danvers a lot. Like, she has the best lines. Like, even in the kind of whole thing where she's sort of training Peter and saying, like, ask the right question. What's the right question? And then we see Navarro sort of use the same technique later on. Because you can obviously tell, and that tells you that, you know, Navarro was once her protege, sort of thing, but something obviously bad's happened along the way. What that may be, might be involved with this crash, don't know yet, but they've still got beef, obviously. But yeah, Danvers has got the best lines. I mean, she's just like a no-nonsense, pissing everyone off sort of thing. But then, like, as you were saying, Chris, like, yeah, she pisses a lot of people off. She's pissing all the people off. Yeah. And sleeping with their husbands. So
yeah. Yeah.
I did wonder with that explosion towards the old lady about the tribal markings. Does that come from a place of? Well, let's see. Does it come from a place of hatred, or does it come from a place of knowing that one girl has already died with those markings and maybe it's a target?
Oh.
Or does it just come from a place of, like she seemed to be suggesting with the name she was using, and saying things like, yeah, she can join you working in I can't remember what it was now. It was a fairly low-level job that if you've got those markings, you're not going to get anywhere in life, sort of thing.
I took it as fear. I took it as that she was scared for her. And her kind of reaction was more based in sort of like that kind of, yeah, maybe that she could be possibly a target. That's what that was my kind of takeaway from it.
And I found it quite an extreme reaction. I mean, God forbid if I ever had kids, the poor people, but if I did, I'd be more than happy for them to find out what their ancestry and heritage was.
Do we actually know what those markings mean on the chin? Do we know?
No,
I don't think so. Don't know if.
I think we'll find out at some point, I hope. Yeah, I actually, that was interesting when you brought up Navarro's using that little ritual about asking the questions. I thought that was well done, because it told us that she did have training under the captain without it bringing it up obviously as in a conversation with the captain, and so I thought I liked that little character building there moment.
Yeah, I've got to say, like, I'm really enjoying the dialogue in this, and the writing in particular. It's snappy. You know, I never feel in the first two episodes, I have not felt at any point that things have been dragging, that things are being protracted. You get a sense. I know, like Chris, what you were saying, like everyone seems to hate everyone, and there's conflict, but then there's also, you can tell there's like subtext between the characters. Yeah. And I always like that you're not given, you're not force fed certain things. You kind of have to kind of figure it out yourself. Like, and you know, just like these discussions sort of thing. I love like having all these different types of theories, and I'm hoping, the only thing I'm hoping now is that we're kind of thrown a curveball, and it's something that maybe we haven't even thought about, or it goes in the kind of way that surprises and shocks us all. Not that, what we're saying is actually comes to fruition, and we've kind of read it like 3 episodes like beforehand, That's my only kind of, my tentative foreshadowing sort of thing, is maybe like with all the kind of theories that I'm throwing out, one of them has to stick maybe. I just don't know which one it might be. So, yeah.
Just to answer the previous question, the stripes on the chin represent going from a girl to a woman, basically.
Okay.
There's also a Y-shaped marking which represents the essential tools used during a seal hunt. And various other tattoos that symbolise other parts of Inuit life.
Interesting. So it does seem like Danvers and Navarro will be teaming up, at least begrudgingly teaming up, and very season 1-ish. This unlikely alliance that just out of necessity, but see how it goes.
Has that been a central core all the way through True Detective? 2 detectives who don't get on for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, the second series, it was 3 of them, wasn't it? Sort of thing. All 3 had interlinking cases or whatnot, and then I didn't really. I started watching the 3rd series, but I just didn't really get into it, sort of thing. But I don't know if he teamed up with someone else. I'm assuming he did.
Yeah. Same, kind of the same thing, which I guess is very on brand. But is it prediction time?
I think it might be.
How wrong we are. Yeah.
I'm predicting that Paul Hank's not going to get the lady of his dreams from the text messages.
That's a pretty safe bet, yeah. Poor Hank.
I'm sticking with my polar bear is going to maul somebody. I gotta have that, so I'm sticking with it.
It's a fairly safe bet if the polar bear actually gets out. Like, that's the thing. Yeah.
I'm going to say, as a prediction, I think that Clark, having seen the trailer now and the kind of mannequin body, I think he's somehow, if not directly involved with cultish type shenanigans. I think with the work that he's doing at the research station and the fact that his lover had been murdered, I think he's trying in his own way to either reanimate her or do something that brings her back, and the fact that he was the one that kind of said she's awake, I think it might not be what he perceives to be her coming back, but they've brought something back, or the hallucinations. I'm still going with the fact that what Alex was saying, like I like the idea of like the gas under the ice. I think they've discovered something that they weren't supposed to, as opposed to what they were trying to find, and yeah, I think maybe in the 3rd episode we might actually get to see Clark in the flesh.
Just had a thought about the baby. Maybe the baby was stillborn, and that's why it never came up in the autopsy report. He's taken it, he buried it in the ice, and when it says she's awake, it could be the baby, this twisted version of the baby in some way. There you go, where's my prediction?
Chris wades in with a pretty dark first ever
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're going to get a prediction wrong, go for big style. Yeah.
I'm going to stick with my... I've just accidentally tried to refresh the page. That's not going to work. I'm going to stick with my ritualistic killings prediction, and I'm still going to say that Danvers' sister will be the next one.
Okay.
I actually think, so I didn't really think this before this conversation, but I think Hank is somehow linked to what's going on. It kind of just makes sense. I'm not sure that his son is, but I think Hank is somehow related to it. And I still think SpongeBob toothbrush guy is going to die. But we'll see.
I think you know what? I think the scene with his dogs, with his huskies.
Yeah.
I think animals might start if we're meant
Absolutely.
to believe that the water's gone bad or something, or there is some kind of thing. The animals are going to start acting up, and I think they're going to maul him. And then Jared, that might be with your polar bear as well. That might come back into effect.
That's right.
So,
That's
yeah.
right.
Polar bear of doom.
Volt Polar Bear 2024.
Yeah.
I believe in every season of True Detective, episode 3 has like a major event. Is it episode 3 or 5? So I think we'll see something major happen soon, like a major event.
Okay.
But we'll see. Anything else you guys can think of from episode 2? Those are my notes.
No, it'll probably be one of those things like as soon as this ends, I'll have like another couple of ideas or something that I will try and bring up in the next episode. But yeah,
Just sucks you have to wait 6 days to get the next one. That's only disappointment, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, it does suck. But if we talked about this last week, but if we were binging it, we would never have a conversation like this because
That's
we'd all be done with it. So has plus and minus, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's old school, isn't it?
Yes.
Never used to be able to binge watch things. Always used to have to wait for them.
And I can never keep up with all these people who are like, I'm going to sit down for 12 hours and watch the season. It's like, I can never do that. Like, it's just crazy.
No.
And then there's spoilers everywhere, and you have to, tiptoe around until you can get to all 12.
Yeah.
Kind of a pain.
Yeah.
So until next week, Alex, where can people find you?
Mainly on the pagechewing.com forum, and every now and then on Twitter and Blue Sky as a frog in time.
How is Blue Sky? Is it different, or is it just like Twitter Lite?
It in layout is very like Twitter. In terms of the content on there, it's a much more relaxed place. I don't see as much shouting and angriness on Blue Sky that I see on Twitter.
Well, that's good at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've still got plenty of invites if anybody wants to jump onto Blue Sky.
Nice. And Chris, where can people find you?
You can probably find me in the Page Tune forums, or on my YouTube channel if you want to see some content about movies, but haven't done anything in a while there. Been doing too many other committee talk things.
Yes. And Jared.
You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel, and you can find me on the pagechewing.com forums as well.
Nice. Don't forget about Creative Crossroads.
Yes, and I actually am working on a new one now, so there will be a new one up pretty soon.
Looking forward to it. And Anthony.
Yeah, you can also find me in the Page Tune forums, and also got a YouTube channel called Horrible, and my Twitter is Mr. Selfie.
Yes, and I'll have all those links down below for everyone to find, and we'll talk to everyone next week. Watch out for those polar bears.